You want a story that grabs you by the collar right out the gate? Fine. Here's one. The night the hurricane hit, my house was the only damn thing still standing. And that, believe it or not, was the start of all my trouble, not the end. I'll tell you this straight up, just so you know what kind of person you're listening to. I didn't build my place to show off. Didn't care about curb appeal, or what the HOA queen across the street thought about my thick concrete walls, or if anyone liked that I put in hurricane shutters so heavy you could hide behind them during a war. I built that house because I know what wind can do when it really means business, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let retirement end in a pile of matchsticks. So, when Hurricane Helena came tearing in off the Gulf, felt like the sky was coming down, Bay Ridge shores went down in a single night. Roofs gone, power lines sprawled across the yards, cars floating down the street like rubber ducks. But my place? Not a single cracked window. Not a shingle out of place. You'd think, well, that's the happy ending, right? If only. By day 3 after the storm, I'm outside with my generator running, handing out bottles of water, trying to keep it together. I see Samantha, the HOA president, always perfect, always in charge, walking up with a letter taped to my gate. I figured maybe it was a thank you or a list of volunteer shifts. But no, this was a demand for over $10 million. Yeah, you heard right. And get this, she said I was to blame for the storm wrecking everyone else's homes. Because I hadn't joined the HOA. Because my house was still standing. Wrap your head around that. 3 days out, I'm thinking, okay, maybe FEMA pamphlets, maybe the power company leaving a warning. But instead, I open my mailbox, and there's this waterproofed envelope with the HOA seal. Inside, a bill for over 10 grand. Community restoration costs. Samantha said I'd somehow caused disproportionate environmental impact by refusing to cooperate during a disaster. In plain English, my house survived, so I was responsible for the ones that didn't. I had to read it 3 times just to believe it. They were blaming me for the hurricane. By that afternoon, the rumors were outpacing the actual wind. Somebody posted a drone shot of the neighborhood online. Just wreckage everywhere, except for one perfect, untouched square. My house, right in the center, like a sore thumb. The caption, coincidence. Within hours, thousands of shares. And people I didn't even know, some of whom I just pulled from the water days earlier, were now convinced I'd done something shady. Some said I'd used military tech to deflect the storm. Others called me the bunker guy who cheated nature. You want to laugh, but it turns quick. Next thing you know, kids are throwing rocks at your gate. Neighbors cross the street instead of waving. And Samantha? She's on the news, telling everyone. We're just seeking accountability for our devastated community. That word, accountability, stung more than the salt in my cuts. I sent the letter to my lawyer, David. 15 minutes later, he calls me up, barely able to breathe for laughing. Frank, he says, that's not a lawsuit. That's a nervous breakdown on letterhead. But then he gets serious. If they're really coming after you, get ready. HOAs hate being embarrassed, and you're making them look bad just by existing. That night, I'm out walking my property with a flashlight, just making sure no one's sneaking around. I trust concrete more than people at this point. The generator's humming, tide still pulling at the trees. Everything's quiet except in my head. Next morning, there's another paper taped to my gate. This one's a proposed amendment to the HOA charter, basically saying from now on, anybody who lives next to us has to be in the HOA, which was their way of trying to rope me in. Again, they'd done this before, mind you. Fake zoning forms, redraw the boundaries, get everyone on the board to sign a petition in identical handwriting. It never worked before, but disasters make folks desperate. Now, they had a sob story, and Samantha was going to milk it for everything it was worth. The local news picks it up, spins it into some mystery. Why did one home stand when the others fell? They show footage of me hauling debris, handing out water, but make it look suspicious. Some expert wonders aloud if my walls redirected the wind into the neighbors' homes. Investigating possible zoning irregularities. I swear, it hit harder than the actual storm. A couple days later, I get an official summons, not from FEMA or the parish, but from the HOA's lawyer. 40 pages accusing me of refusing to participate in communal mitigation, moral negligence, and my favorite, environmental imbalance due to selfish architectural foresight. In other words, I'd built my house too well. David says they want a settlement. They'll drag your name through the mud till you pay just to make it stop. And I tell him, nope. If they want mud, I'll drag them through it too. That weekend, I'm out in the shed pulling every blueprint, certificate, FEMA permit, every paper I'd saved since breaking ground. My dad always said, paperwork's the only weapon polite society allows. I meant to sharpen mine. I highlighted everything, found a covenant that said my land was legally outside HOA control for 15 years. And what do you know? Suddenly their new post-disaster map shows my house as part of their turf. They'd faked the survey. Again, that night, with the generator humming and the windows locked tight, I started writing. Timeline of every attempt the HOA ever made to harass or annex me. Copies of every letter, screenshots, public statements, even social media posts where Samantha spun her story for sympathy. At midnight, an email pings my inbox. Anonymous, burner account. They forged more than maps. I almost delete it, but open it anyway. Inside, a PDF of the HOA's emergency fund report. Looks legit at first glance, but the insurance policy numbers are totally fake. There is no HOA disaster fund. They've been pocketing the premiums. David comes by the next morning. We spread all the evidence out on my kitchen table, and his face changes from amused to ice cold. Frank, this is fraud. Wire fraud, insurance fraud, conspiracy, if we dig deep enough. We agree to keep it quiet until we've got enough to bury them. But it doesn't stay quiet for long. Reporters show up outside my fence. Drones fly overhead. Someone spray paints "Storm Thief" on my gate. Samantha goes back on TV, tears glistening. While most of us lost everything, one man stood untouched and refuses to share our pain. My power flickers, generator kicks in, and I realize they don't want money. They want me gone. They want me erased. I poured another bourbon into my coffee and whispered, "All right, Samantha, let's see how your perfect little kingdom stands up to the truth." By sunrise, I'd filed 3 counterclaims, uploaded affidavits, and sent a package to the state insurance commission. The real storm was just getting started. First week, it's whispers and glares. Neighbors slow their cars to fill my house. "Look at that place, not a scratch," they sneer on TikTok. Probably built it with FEMA money. Local Facebook groups light up, side-by-side satellite photos of my untouched home glowing red amid destruction. I stop answering the door. It's either reporters or HOA spies. I'd helped some of these folks just days before. Amazing how fast fear turns gratitude to suspicion. HOA puts out a press release. I modified natural airflow with unauthorized architecture. The Bay Ridge anomaly, they call it. Ridiculous, but it gets dangerous quick. Someone dumps garbage on my driveway. A dead fish nailed to my gate. Real swamp mafia vibes. I call the sheriff. Isai says, "Lay low till things cool off." I snap, "Lay low? I built better walls. That's my only crime." He chuckles, promises to patrol. Never does. Then, radio silence from David for 2 days. Shows up out of the blue. "Ty Askew, eyes hard. They filed this suit," he says, tossing a binder on the table. "For what?" I ask. "Existing too effectively." He flips it open. Non-compliance, willful isolation, psychological harm inflicted by comparative property resilience. I nearly choke on my coffee. "They say your house traumatized them," David deadpants. "Not about money, Frank. It's about the narrative. They lost everything and need a villain. You're perfect for the role." That's when it clicks. Samantha doesn't want restitution. She wants revenge. HOA PR machine goes into overdrive. Samantha, on every channel, crying about community, painting herself as betrayed by the lone holdout. I can't even go to the hardware store without side-eye. So I play along. Stay home. Let them dig their own graves. By night, I'm building my own war chest. Leaked Facebook group screenshots, signed construction records, every inspection, every engineer's stamp. I had facts. Samantha had feelings. But public opinion's meaner than any judge. One night, kids spray paint Storm Devil on my fence. I step outside, flashlight in hand. You think that'll hold up in court? They scatter like raccoons. Next morning, my mailbox is smashed flat. David wants a restraining order. I tell him, no, let them dig. What I didn't say is I was already digging, literally. Behind a shed, I find boxes of old tapes. From 2018, the first time Samantha tried to annex me. I kept the recording. We'll get you annexed one way or another, Mr. Bailey. Nobody lives outside the HOA forever. Pure gold. Then, another anonymous email. This time, internal HOA spreadsheets showing money funneled offshore. Cayman Islands, accounts linked to S. Stewart Holdings. I sent it to David. Game on. We get a forensic accountant, Howard Chun, who uncovers $2.6 million in fake insurance premiums pocketed months before the storm. Now we had everything. David says they filed suit, so now we can subpoena their records. If the judge throws it out, we go public. Either way, Samantha's empire burns. And wouldn't you know, the first whistleblower appears, a guy in a windbreaker, clutching a folder like it's radioactive. Carl Benson, ex-HOA accountant. He gives me copies of ledgers, wire receipts, all showing the storm insurance was just a shell, money routed straight to Samantha. She told me to shred the backups, but I didn't. You embarrassed her, Bailey. She wants to make an example of you. David comes by, and we spread it all out. He grins. Well, looks like our HOA president's been busy laundering her neighbor's hope. But he's not smiling for long. Frank, this isn't just a lawsuit. This is racketeering, conspiracy, dangerous people bite when cornered. Next day, a black SUV idles outside my place for hours. When I walk toward it, it rolls away. That night, 2 security cameras go offline, cables cut. Someone's been inside the fence. They wanted to rattle me. All they did was remind me why I built this house in the first place. I sleep with the lights off in my shed, shotgun close by. At 2 a.m., footsteps by the gate. When I flick on the floodlights, nobody's there, just a USB drive hanging from the mailbox. No note. I boot up an old offline laptop and open the files. There's a folder, Phase 3 Consolidation Plan. It lays out exactly how Samantha planned to force out anyone who didn't join, one property at a time, until the HOA controlled the whole shore. Her name, top of the chart. That's when it stops being paranoia and turns into proof. David splits the evidence into 3 piles: fraud, annexation, and harassment. We file motions to dismiss their civil suit, submit everything to the state and county. If they want a courtroom, they'll get one, this time as defendants. After that, the news explodes. HOA president under investigation. Bank accounts frozen. Samantha's lawyers try to stall, but the press smells blood. She goes into hiding, but before she disappears, she sends one last email blaming me for everything. The reply chain is full of angry neighbors. You stole from us. You lied. You let us drown. That's the real verdict. Court day comes. The room is packed. Every survivor's there, waiting for answers. Samantha's got 3 lawyers, all squirming in their suits. The judge is an old Louisiana woman. No patience for nonsense. David lays it all out. The hurricane, the forged invoices, the lies. He plays the recording. Samantha's voice, clear as day. If we can't control outliers like Bailey, we'll make them the enemy. Public shame is cheaper than litigation. The gallery gasps. The judge leans in, hard as steel. Miss Stewart, do you deny this recording? She stammers. It was taken out of context. David just raises an eyebrow. The judge slams the gavel. Case dismissed. Defendant's counterclaims will proceed to trial. Outside, cameras flash, people cheer, and for the first time in months, I can breathe. Samantha's taken away by deputies, eyes full of hate, mouthing, "This isn't over." I smile back. "It is for you." David pours 2 bourbons when we get home. "Frank, this isn't just your win. It's a precedent. Every HOA lawyer in Louisiana is about to have nightmares about you." Good. Maybe next time they'll stick to picking paint colors. After the dust settles, the county dissolves the HOA. Their old office gets raided, all the records hauled out in boxes. My mailbox fills with letters, some from lawyers, some from neighbors wanting to apologize. A few even thank me. I burn the old charter in my fire pit. Watch the paper curl up and vanish. Freedom isn't given. It's reinforced. Some folks say I'm a hero, but I'm just a stubborn old man with thicker walls than most. If you ever stand your ground against something unfair, know this. Storms don't destroy what's built right. They reveal what's hollow. Don't trade your freedom for approval. Build it on your terms, and make damn sure it can survive the wind. So, what would you have done in my place? Let them in. Let them take what's yours for the sake of community. Or would you stand alone and risk being the villain just to hold on to your independence? Tell me your thoughts. Hell, tell me your stories, because I got a feeling I'm not the only one who's ever had to weather a storm like this.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.